Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. I'm going to do a 3x pitch BioMetrics here of Sam Mcdowell. We're going to take him through his delivery from camp. Looking at him just for a leg drive. You can see, lift leg stays closed, but the arm's cocking really early. Glove side getting extended, arm in the cock position at this point. The trunk is just leaning back really aggressively, so we need to delay the hands to cocking into front foot strike. And the trunk doesn't need to be leaning that far back. That's 38 degrees, something like 10 degrees, 15 degrees would be ideal. If you go too far, you put more weight on your back leg, but you make it harder to keep your hip going forward because your hip abduction mobility is going to be pretty much at max due to you're leaning back so hard. So neutralize the trunk better, delay the arm cocking. You can see that if the hips kept moving, the force vector, the drive leg ankle to knee would be able to get more linear, so you could actually drive the hips through, as opposed right now it looks like the hips are just going to want to rotate. As far as flexion, good flexion back there. Trunk's, not leaning forward, even though it is leaning inward, it's leaning back. So I just think the corrections we talked about, trunk more upright, keeping momentum going. So let's go into front foot. You see that back leg just rotating. Okay, so no drive, just rotation. Let's see how that affects sequencing. Okay, the red line here is going to be the hips. So we can see the hips are peaking, and really not even peaking. That would be 513 degrees per second. We're looking something around close to 800. And then, but at least you see the back knee driving to start rotation. So that is a good plus. Normally you'd see, when someone has poor hip rotation, you'd see the glove side, which is the blue line, the dark blue line, going first. But look how high that dark blue line is going. So a lot of pull, glove side, and then the trunk is the green line. And then the trunk's coming even lower than that. So most of the energy is in that pulling down elbow, and it's even higher than the energy coming out of the trunk to the arm. So we need to get the glove moving, the glove side moving with the trunk, but we need to start driving through the hips so it starts peaking that trunk speed. That trunk speed really isn't accelerating fast at all because that glove looks like it's doing all the work. If we look at just in these here, you can see even though the hips are going ahead of the trunk, when you look at how they're moving, they're actually moving together even though one's peaking at the head of the other. So really no hip to shoulder separation. So going back and trying to get that back leg more linear, get drive through that leg, I think is key. Just not enough power is coming up the chain, and you can see that's why that glove side's pulling so hard to really try to create most of the power. It's also getting the arm into a dragging position. The elbow is getting way behind the shoulder. That's going to be really hard in the elbow as you start to throw harder in that delivery. And if you go to pitch release, the trunk does eventually get forward, which is good. I like to see that you're pushing your trunk out, but it really isn't driven from the back leg through the hips. It isn't driven from the front leg extension going forward. If we go back to this, we can see the trunk got into a 51 degree forward trunk tilt. That's good, but look how much rotation in it. It's still spinning and rotating because there wasn't a lot of energy driving it forward initially, so the trunk kept, and specifically that glove side pulling so hard, more of the energy was in rotation. We also see the tilt was about 8 degrees. The tilt's not bad in the trunk, it's just the fact that it's still spinning in rotation because the glove was the driving force behind it. So I think that's the thing, going back to cleaning up, not cocking so early, not leaning so far back, keeping the hips moving, getting the back leg linear, getting power through the hip, driving separation through more back leg power, hip rotation power, calming down the glove side because of that, getting the separation, and then letting it transfer. And I think it's going to transfer good at that point. Just the icing on the cake is going to be getting the front leg to stabilize and extend as well.